In the flux of the 16th century, a nation teetered on the brink of change. Its dynasty, the Tudors, who had gripped the English throne since 1485, found themselves in a whirlwind of challenges and opportunities. At the epicenter of these tumultuous times, a young prince was born into a world brimming with political intrigue and cultural evolution. Our story unravels the tale of this prince, his early life, education, and the multitude of forces that forged one of England's most iconic monarchs. But to unravel the making of a king, we must go back to the very beginning. The year is 1491. In the charming town of Greenwich, a baby's cry echoes. An heir to the Tudor dynasty is born. His name is Henry. His destiny, unbeknownst to him, will be dictated by the epoch's transformative events. Join me on this journey as we uncover the early life of Henry VIII, peeling back the layers of myth to reveal the man beneath. Born to Henry VII and Elizabeth of York within the grand walls of the Palace of Placentia, Henry's fate was bound to a world teeming with political maneuvering. His father, Henry VII, a king not by inheritance but by conquest, was intent on fortifying his power. Yet, he sought alliances as much as he did authority. Marrying Elizabeth of York, a predecessor's daughter, he hoped to stitch together the rival Lancaster and York factions. Within this chessboard of power and politics, our young Prince Henry was born. As the second son of Henry VII and Elizabeth, he was molded from a tender age for a life both privileged and burdened with responsibility. Henry grew up in an environment of lavish opulence and potent power. Yet, his childhood bore its own challenges. He was always in the shadow of his elder brother. His elder brother, Arthur, the Crown Prince, was the cynosure of their parents' expectations. Arthur was being carefully crafted to be king, while Henry was cast into a supporting role. Despite this, Henry was no ordinary child. His intellect was sharp, his curiosity insatiable. His youth was colored by a love for games, sports, music, literature, and the arts. At the tender age of 6, he began his formal education, an enlightening journey that would ignite a lifelong passion for learning. Henry VIII was more than a monarch. He was a scholar, a poet, a patron of the arts. His education laid the groundwork for a life of immense power and formidable responsibility. Being a prince meant a top-tier education. He mastered Latin, French, and mathematics. He learned to read and write fluently in both English and Latin. History, geography, the classics. These were not just subjects, but passions for young Henry. His thirst for knowledge was unquenchable. His curriculum was far from ordinary. Theology, law, philosophy, all were part of his academic repertoire. The profound works of classical literature, including those of Cicero, Virgil, and Horace, served as his companions in intellectual growth. Henry was tutored by the best, including the esteemed poet Skelton. Henry's education wasn't confined to the lecture halls. His access to a vast collection of books ignited his intellectual curiosity, and he devoured them with unmatched enthusiasm. His love for reading was such that he even required a personal librarian to manage his burgeoning collection. This love of learning didn't just shape Henry's worldview and governance approach, but also lent him a unique persona. He fancied himself as a scholar king, a Renaissance prince, akin to the influential Italian statesman Niccolò Machiavelli. Yet, Henry's love for learning wasn't merely a personal passion. It was a potent tool of power. He projected an image of himself as an erudite and sophisticated monarch and used his scholarly prowess to promote his policies and ideas. Even with Henry's intelligence, every young king needs guidance. Enter Wolsey, More, and Catherine of Aragon. These figures were instrumental, shaping his policies, his heart, and his very soul. Wolsey, the son of a butcher turned top advisor. More, the philosopher and statesman, and Catherine, the Spanish princess who would become his first queen. Each brought a unique perspective, guiding Henry through the labyrinth of early kingship. His father, Henry VII, was known for cautious rule, establishing a robust financial foundation for England. These traits were imbibed by young Henry. He was raised in an environment that valued frugality and financial stability. He learned firsthand how his father's judicious management of the treasury fortified England. His mother, Elizabeth of York, was known for her kindness and piety, instilling in Henry a profound sense of religion and moral duty. She provided stability during his early years, supporting him throughout. Henry's contemporary, Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, was also a critical influence. He saw in Charles a template for how a monarch should rule and aspired to surpass him. Charles's military prowess and his ability to maintain a vast empire elicited Henry's envy and spurred his ambition to demonstrate England's might. But there was more to Henry than power and politics. His life was punctuated by a plethora of interests and hobbies: tennis, falconry, jousting, hunting, each pursued with passion and skill. He was an accomplished horseman and a lover of music, playing several instruments, including the lute. His love for music wasn't just a pastime, it was a reflection of his soul. He composed, played multiple instruments, and even sang. His affinity for the arts was equaled by his love for fine food and drink, reflected in the extravagant feasts at his court. The dawn of the 16th century brought with it a series of heart-wrenching tragedies for the Tudor household. In 1502, the corridors of the palace were filled with a somber air as news of Prince Arthur's death spread. The heir apparent, the beacon of hope for the Tudor dynasty, and the elder brother of Henry, Arthur's death was unexpected and devastating. He was only 15, recently married to Catherine of Aragon, and his future seemed promising. His passing not only thrust young Henry into the limelight, but also reshaped the very destiny of the English monarchy. But the blows didn't stop there. Just a year later, in 1503, the Tudor family faced another profound loss. Elizabeth of York, the beloved Queen Consort, Henry VII's wife, and the mother of both Arthur and Henry, passed away on her 37th birthday. Her death was a grievous blow to the family, especially to King Henry VII, who deeply mourned her passing. Elizabeth had been a pillar of strength and stability for the Tudor dynasty, uniting the warring factions of Lancaster and York through her marriage to Henry VII. Her death left a void in the heart of the kingdom and the Tudor family. For young Henry, these back-to-back tragedies not only meant personal loss, but also a drastic shift in responsibilities. From being the spare to the heir, his life was upended. The weight of a kingdom's expectations, previously borne by Arthur, now rested squarely on Henry's shoulders. These events, laden with grief and responsibility, played a pivotal role in shaping the young prince's character and his eventual reign as King Henry VIII. To truly understand Henry VIII, we must delve into his relationship with his father, Henry VII. Henry's upbringing was marked by his father's astute and calculating rule, which had a profound impact on the young prince. Despite this, he shared a close bond with his father, who ingrained in him a sense of duty and responsibility. Their relationship was a mix of mentorship, tension, and mutual respect. The old king, having secured his dynasty from the chaos of the Wars of the Roses, was determined to ensure its continuation. When Henry VII passed away in 1509, he left behind a stable but vulnerable kingdom and a son burning with the desire to inscribe his name in the annals of history. His father's prudent planning and financial acumen laid the groundwork for Henry's reign. But it was Henry's own unique blend of charm, charisma, and ruthless determination that rocketed him to the pinnacle of power. 1509 marked a new era. Henry's coronation was not just a ceremony, it was a promise of prosperity, hope, and a dash of youthful exuberance. The streets of London were abuzz with excitement. A young, vibrant king was on the throne, and the possibilities seemed endless. The arts flourished, the court was lively, and England seemed poised for greatness. Yet, every silver lining has its cloud: European politics, the quest for an heir, and the ever-present courtly intrigues. Henry had to navigate these stormy waters, often without a compass. The ever-shifting sands of European alliances meant that today's friend could be tomorrow's foe, and at home, the pressure to produce an heir weighed heavily on him. The Tudor dynasty's future was at stake. From a second son to a king who'd leave an indelible mark on history, Henry VIII's early life was sculpted by his family, education, and influences. From his love of music and poetry to his athletic pursuits and insatiable appetite for the pleasures of life, Henry was a multifaceted figure. Yet what remained constant was his burning ambition to etch his legacy and secure the Tudor dynasty. Next time, we'll dive into the tumultuous years of Henry's rise to power, as he navigated the intricate landscape of court politics, fought wars, and solidified his place as one of England's most captivating and contentious monarchs. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the early life of Henry VIII. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when the next episode drops.